Okay, last time we were talking about Mechidas Chametz, about selling the Chametz. So we discussed that even though the Gemara really doesn't talk about the aspect of selling Chametz, but nevertheless it became a minute because people had a lot of Chametz and they couldn't sell it. They couldn't throw it out, they couldn't get rid of it. So what they actually did was they would sell the Chametz to the Rav. So many years ago, many people would sell it themselves to the Rav. To the guy. To the guy. But in later years, the poskim write that the laws of selling chametz are complicated, and if you don't sell them properly, so then it's not a valid sale. So then you're ending up owning chametz on Pesach. So besides you get the love of Bal Yiro and Bal Yimatzi, also the chametz becomes forbidden to benefit from. So he said like this: the way it works today, practically speaking, you don't sell the chametz to the Rav. All you're doing is appointing the Rav to sell your chametz for you to the guy. So when you sign the paper of Mechidas Chametz, all the paper says is you're authorizing this and this person, or any one of his agents, to sell the chametz for you to the guy on Erev Pesach. That's basically what that document says that you sign. Now, so before we even go further, how the Rav sells the chametz to the guy, the procedures involved, there's another issue that people have to keep in mind. So let's say somebody from LA is going to Israel for Pesach. So Israel, I believe now, is 9 hours ahead of us. Okay? Now, when the Rav sells the chametz Erev Pesach, he sells it basically close to the end of the time that you're allowed to sell chametz. Because after midday, biblically, you don't own chametz. If you don't own it, you can't sell it. The Gemara says, there's two things, Rabbi Yosef says in the Gemara, there's two things that don't belong to you, but the Chachamim, the Torah makes it yours to obligate you. One is if I dig a pit in a public domain. Somebody digs a pit in a public domain. It doesn't belong to you, it's a public domain. But the Torah makes it yours, that if an animal gets damaged in it, so then you have to pay for it. The same thing, the second thing the Gemara says, chametz on Pesach, chametz is asur b'hana. Chametz is forbidden to benefit from. The definition of ownership in halacha is that you're able to benefit from it. If you are not able to benefit from an object, it's not yours. The definition of ownership means I could benefit from it. Chametz and Pesach, you're not allowed to benefit. It's asur b'hana. You can't benefit from it. So therefore it's not yours. Now when does that not yours start? So biblically, midday. According to the Chachamim, halachic hour before that. So let's say, that's not the right times. So let's say midday is 12 o'clock, if they didn't change the clock. So midday is 12 o'clock, so biblically after 12 o'clock the chametz doesn't belong to you. After 11 o'clock, rabbinically it doesn't belong to you. Chametz doesn't belong to you at all. If it doesn't belong to you, you can't sell it. So 1 second. So let's say the Rav is going to sell the chametz 10 o'clock in that scenario, okay? The Rav's going to sell after 11 o'clock, he can't sell it rabbinically. So 10 o'clock, the Rav sells the chametz to the guy, but he's acting as your agent. Now, you're already in Israel. Israel's 9 hours ahead of us. So you're either sitting down by the Seder already, or almost done with the Seder already. But one thing is for sure, he can't sell your chametz as your agent because you're not allowed to sell it. You're not allowed to benefit from it. So therefore, or for that matter, the same thing if somebody's going to the East Coast, where Pesach is 3 hours, it's 3 hours ahead of us. So when they sell chametz, let's say here 10 o'clock, in New York it's already 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock is after the Zman. So again, the Rav can't sell the chametz for you. So therefore, what's the halacha? You have to sell it in the place you're going to. So if you're going to New York, you have to sell the chametz in New York. Or if you're going to Israel, you have to sell the chametz in Israel. Unless, and I started doing that myself for a number of years already, I sell for people going to Israel a day earlier. Let's say this year, Pesach is Thursday and Friday, so Wednesday is Erev Pesach, right? So Tuesday we sell the chametz. I'm sorry, Wednesday we sell the chametz. So I sell the chametz, a separate sale for people going to Israel, on Tuesday. So the guy comes, we sell him the chametz, mamish, a whole deal like the big selling of the chametz, but it's very few people there. And he sell the chametz to the guy earlier. So then the people, when they go to Israel, don't have a problem. Those that want to go to New York also, but then they can't use the chametz for the whole time. Anyway, so that's one way it works. But otherwise, if somebody's going to Israel, ideally they have to sell the chametz in Israel. If they're going out east, they have to sell the chametz out east. Now, what happens if somebody from Israel comes here? So technically they can sell the chametz here. Because here they're here now, so Pesach starts in the local time. The question is, what happens though if they sold the chametz in Israel? They sold the chametz in Israel. But here they're keeping 2 days Yom Tov. Right? So when the Rav buys back the chametz from the Goy, after the 7th day of Pesach, which is only 1 day in Israel, here it's still Yom Tov. Not only is it still Yom Tov, it's 9 hours earlier, so it's even the 7th day in the middle of the day. So now the question is, if somebody is coming from Israel here, can they sell the chametz here? Must they sell the chametz here, or could they sell it also in Israel? Okay, because then the rabbi sells it earlier, but the problem is when he buys it back, it's still Yom Tov here. So that's not a big problem. Why isn't that a big problem? Because again, the Rav is your agent. When he buys back chametz from the guy in Israel, yeah, by you it's still Yom Tov. I don't have to acquire something I don't want to acquire. You can't force me to acquire something I don't want to acquire. Now when the Rav buys back the chametz from the guy in Israel, I don't want to buy back the chametz. I don't want my chametz yet. I don't want it until Yom Tov here is finished. So then really it's not a problem. The bigger problem is somebody going to Israel, somebody going to New York, or whatever it is, so then you have to sell the chametz in the place you're going to. Okay, that's the issue with selling chametz. Now many people in halacha have a minig, they won't sell real chametz. Real chametz, like pasta or bread or, pizza or whatever. So many people have a minig that they don't sell real chametz. Why don't they sell real chametz? So because the way most people sell chametz, not the Alter Rebbe's way of selling chametz, but most people, the way they sell chametz, some people say it's really a trick. It's not a legitimate sale. It's, you're playing games. They say playing games. I don't want to sell real chametz in a game playing type of a sale. So many people will not sell real chametz. I mean, the way we sell chametz, the way the Alter Rebbe described and defined the way and told how to sell the chametz, so our meaning is we do sell real chametz on Pesach. So there's no problem because the way we sell the chametz, as we'll soon explain, I don't know if we'll get there today, but the way we'll explain the sale of the chametz according to the Alter Rebbe, it's a 100% legitimate sale, and therefore we sell real chametz. In fact, it's brought down in Poskim, Stechem and other people bring down that many great tzaddikim would buy chametz, because after Pesach, you don't get chametz, right? It's hard to get chametz right after Pesach. So they would buy chametz before Pesach, sell it in the chametz, then right after Pesach, they can have a pizza, So buy pizza, put it in the freezer right after Pesach. You have to take out the pizza, and you have pizza after Pesach. Or bread, or bagels, or whatever. So that's the concept of selling chametz. Now, those things that you're selling in the chametz have to be put away. Why do you have to put it away? Because, let's say you sold your cereals and your bread. It's not yours, but we're afraid, halacha says, you might come to eat it. You're eating it a whole year. You might forget and come to eat it. So therefore, anything that you want to sell, you have to put away. So you have to make them effect. It says in halacha, you have to, if it's not in a separate room, you have to make a mechitza 10 tfachim, which is, let's say, between 36 and 40 inches, that to show that that's sold, it's not used in Pesach. Now there's another interesting shaila. When we sell chametz, does that include the dishes that are chametz, pots and pans? Do we sell the actual, what's the problem? So many poskim in halacha, the Rabbi Yosef, some sefer, a lot of people hold that you don't sell the kelim. You only sell the chametz in the kelim, but not the actual vessel. Why do they hold that? Because if you sell the dish, the keli to the guy, and now you're buying it back after Chab Pesach, you're buying back utensils from a guy, you have to bring it all to the mikveh. When you buy kelim from a guy, right, a guy that you have to go take it to the mikveh. So they hold that if you're going to sell the kelim to the guy, then after Pesach, you're going to have to table all your dishes. So they hold, what do? You don't sell the actual keli. You sell the chametz in the keli, or that's on the keli. So then you're not actually selling the chametz to the guy, the keli to the guy. The keli is still yours. And in fact, the Shara Kelu talks about that also. But Lepel, the Rebbe writes that in the Alter Rebbe's Shtar Mechira, in the Mechira that the Alter Rebbe wrote, we actually sell the kelim to the guy. Not the chametz on the kelim. We actually sell kelim achamutzim. We actually sell the kelim. So now the question is, why don't you have to table it after Pesach? So the Rebbe once spoke a whole sikha why halachically you still don't have to table the dishes. Because even though you're selling them to the guy, but the guy doesn't have access to them and he's not planning to use them. So as far as tefillah came, that's a low lam de sikha from the Rebbe's print. Look at the sikhs already. So that, even though the keli is sold to the guy, that according to the Rebbe, you don't have to table it anyway. So bottom line, in Chabad, we sell the actual keli to the guy, but we don't table it afterwards. That's the way we hold. But anything you want to sell, now many people, when they sell chametz, not in the Chabad circles, when they sell chametz, they actually list every place the chametz is on. And the cabinet on the second floor, and this, all the places that they list. In our minhag, we don't do that. And the reason for that is because in the shtar, both of the permission to the rabbi and the shtar mechira, mentions every possible place that could be. And therefore, when you write down your name and address, it includes any chametz that you own, no matter where the chametz is. Therefore, this presents, okay, we'll just say this din, and then we'll go to my. Therefore, this is another interesting halacha that poskim discuss. In the Gemara it says, Shulchan Aruch it says, if what happens if you find chametz during Pesach? You did b'digas chametz, but you found chametz on Pesach in your house. So in Shulchan Aruch it says, if it's Yom Tov or Shabbos, you can't burn it. It's muktzah. So you cover it with a keli. Just shouldn't come to use it. What happens if it's Chol HaMoed? You take it and you burn it. So what happens if somebody found a bottle of mashka, which is real chametz, or beer? Huh? No, so according to halacha, you'd have to burn it. But poskim write, nowadays that we sell chametz, because why do you have to burn it? Because it's chametz of a Pesach, you can't benefit from it. You owned it. But the way we sell chametz, this is everybody right. The way we sell chametz, so and the shtar says you're selling the chametz no matter where it is. So even if you find a bottle, or you realize that after during Pesach, oh yeah, I have an apartment somewhere, I have a locker somewhere that has chametz, whatever. So in the time of the Gemara, you would have to throw it out or burn it, whatever. But nowadays, because we sell chametz, it includes chametz no matter where the chametz is. So then everything is covered. You don't have to throw it out. If it's a pizza, cookies or whatever, you throw it out. But otherwise, you don't have to throw it out.